some profit from it, even more so than what we have seen. We just don't want to be an entertainment thing there or just some busy work. I'm sure the brethren would like to see some increase there. So when we pray, let's remember the group at Indianapolis. Maybe you have some afflictions, but spiritual needs are great for them. We'd like to look to the 6th chapter of Apocalypse for the time that remains. Now we want to begin reading at the 12th verse. And I beheld when he had opened the 6th seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood. And the stars of heaven fell unto the earth, even as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs when she is shaken of a mighty wind. And the heavens departed as a scroll when it is rolled together, and every mountain and island were moved out of their places. And the kings of the earth, and the great men, and the rich men, and the chief captains, and the mighty men, and every bondman, and every free man, hid themselves in the dens, in the rocks of the mountains, and said to the mountains and rocks, fall on us, and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne, and from the wrath of the Lamb. For the great day of his wrath is come, and who shall be able to stand? As we have looked at this chapter recently, we want to remind you also that the interpretation of the Scripture is going to depend very much on your ability to understand the symbols. Okay, we'll get into the symbols. This book, this particular chapter, and the other chapters, including that 21st chapter of Revelation that speaks of the holy city coming down. Let's stay pretty good with the symbols. Where symbols will fit and we'll get an understanding. It is given unto you to know the mysteries. Let us not fly into some fanciful thinking about literalism when it comes to the moon turning into blood. The earthquake is a special spiritual earthquake, and the sun is the sun symbolically, black as sackcloth of hair. I mean, understanding has fled. And that's why you get to witness that it did turn black, is to listen to them try to explain it. And it'll come out black all right. It'll come out missing in spiritual logic and good godly sense. But they feel like they must explain it, and so they do it the best they can with natural understanding, and it doesn't work. Will I work? Then we lift up our eyes and say, Lord, I thank thee that thou hast hidden this from the wise and the prudent, revealed unto babes, for it seemed right in your sight, Lord, or something like that. But that's not the thought that we're dealing with. We don't want to miss the revelation after having preached so many years to still be a headache to you and thoroughly rattled and not understandable. We are in the Church of God, and anybody gets it right, it's going to be Church of God. Yes. Amen. We don't have to shut the book on it. Thank God we can open it up and do the things according to the Scripture that are written in the book. Blessed are they that do these things. Let me see what it says over there. Let me see what it actually says. Get it right. Now, all right, it says here, the revelation of Jesus Christ, which God gave unto him to show unto his servants things which must shortly come to pass, and he sent and signified it, sealed it by his angel unto his servant John, who bare record of the word of God and of the testimony of Jesus Christ, and of all the things that he said. Blessed is he that readeth, and they that hear the words of this prophecy, and keep those things which are written therein, for the time is at hand. And it's going to take some understanding. We're in chapter 1, and that verse we're looking for is 1 and 3. Blessed is he that readeth. Saints of God, read it. And they that hear it, the saints of God open ears. Amen. Don't say, well, we're going to preach on Revelation, close your ears. We're going to get a drink. Hear it, read it, and keep it. Those things which are written therein, for the time is at hand. And John immediately began to write and address it to the 7 churches which are in Asia. And I'm going to tell you, Laodicea got a letter too. So let us, thank God, listen and hear what thus saith the Lord to us Laodiceans that'll go to sleep if the trumpet don't keep blowing. We'll fall asleep. If the judgment doesn't keep rolling, we'll fall asleep. Why? Because we're living in a sleepy age. It has already been spoken that we'd fall asleep. And only those that are diligent in the things of God are going to stay awake and not be caught unawares when the bridegroom cometh. We will open quickly unto him. All right, Revelation 6. Okay, now we'll read after it again and we'll stop at the appropriate place. And behold, when he had opened the sixth seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake. And the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood, and the stars of heaven fell unto the earth. And as we understand that stars of heaven fall unto the earth, it's a ministry, because stars are the ministry. If they were in heaven, they were Church of God ministers, they were accepted even in the Protestant state. They were accepted, and they had a good standard. You can read good standards in the Protestant brother. That's right. You can read some better standards than what we see around here. Or folks call themselves Church of God. We will see some better standards. And God accepted them, and they've done a good work. But when the truth of God's word came about the unity, that God's one church, that there's only one church, that astonishes and that astounds many religious people. When you tell them God only has one church, and I guess your church is the one. You didn't tell me, oh, these churches are not church, or not God's church. I said, not Church of God. It's not God's church. They say, you are fanatic. Yeah, that's just too much. But saints of God, we should get in a position where we realize that God only has one church. Amen. Do you know what it would mean if God had 3 or 4 churches? That would mean he'd have 3 or 4 different wives. And Paul said, I have espoused you unto one husband. He's not a polygamist. And he's not a bigamist. Amen. He's not fickle. And he has one word, one Lord, one faith, and one baptism. Now, what does that produce for you? One church, all right? One Lord, one faith, that's the doctrine, and one baptism. Now, you don't need but one church. Now, the world is so far behind that they cannot conceive what you're talking about. But it's just as true as the hand before your face. You see, amen, that there's no need, no place, no provision made, amen, for God to have several churches. And let me ask you, if he got more than one, he must have 1,000. Which one is the extra one? If you got 2 churches. Well, if you got 10 churches, then which one is right? And which church did Paul the apostle belong to, or Philip the evangelist belong to? Which church did they belong to? Are you their brother, and are we going to meet them over in heaven? Think I will be in the same church with them over there? Well, if we're going to be in the same church with them over there, then we're in the same church before we get over there. To the church of God that is at Corinth, to the church of God that is wherever the saints are. Since there's one Spirit, they call us to one hope of our calling. And we should not have a whole lot of problem with that if we'll consider that this is logical. That to have more than one church, you'd have to have more than one doctrine. Because the Church of God doctrine won't build anything but the Church of God. And if anything else comes up with the Word of God, it's because it's not being preached in its strength. It's not being preached in its purity. It's not being preached in its sincerity. The Word of God preached as it ought to be preached will produce the same thing all over the world. Amen. And we'll all be brethren. So why should we have cousins and nephews and stepbrothers and half-sisters? No, sir. He said, you are all one in Christ Jesus. We're one. And if that gives you problems, you need to look it over and see how could we have two except something be different to make it two. This is the truth that the Reformation government didn't accept, because if you recall that Protestantism, amen, was affected by the dragon, the lamb-like beast that spake as a dragon. They were divided. And because truth came in parts and pieces and people failed to continue to walk in truth, God kept on without them, and that left the churches on the mountains and hills. Let us gather the few, we sing. From those divisions of Protestantism, the songwriter, the inspired songwriter said, from the mountains and hills let us gather the few who will stand for the truth and bear the true. Amen. That they will leave those Protestant creeds and doctrines and unify themselves with the church. That's why the Holy Ghost came, so he could lead and guide them into all truth. Justification restored by Martin Luther, chief minister. Now, there were saints before Martin Luther, but they didn't have the stature that he had to affect the people that he affected. But the saint, the Church of God existed right down through the darkest ages of Roman Catholicism. The church still existed. Amen. And they were standing for truth. But publicly they were put into an obscure place because they weren't allowed to do it openly. Martin Luther came openly. He didn't intend to cause the division, but the more he preached, the better he felt about it. And he had to put the foot pedal to the metal and let the Pope, whatever happened to him, let that was too bad. And whatever happened to them Roman Catholic priests, they weren't worried about it. They're just going to preach the truth. And they told him to recount and take it back before we take you to council and we're going to fix you up. He said, I can't do it. If it's the truth, if you can't prove that I'm wrong, then I'm not taking it back. And they didn't take it back. And as a result, the Lutheran Church was established, and it was a public church. They worshiped God openly. But now we're coming down to the sixth of the, well, we had also Martin Luther began the justification by faith, and then we had the Charles and Wesley brother, and then they began to preach sanctification of the Spirit. And then between them, they came back. There were those that preached the unity of the equality of the brethren, the Presbyterian Church. And there were many of those Protestant churches at one time was accepted of God preaching truth. Yes. But they wouldn't move on and encompass every truth that came along. They camped out on what they had. The Lutherans are still sticking with Martin Luther, and they don't even believe in justification by faith anymore. They're not justified. They believe in justification by luck, I guess. They're making the efforts to get it down where it ought to be, really converted. You see, you can't be saved just by what goes through your mind. You can't be saved just by a doctrine. See, if you could be saved by doctrine, then all those people that were sitting on the hillside when Jesus preached his Sermon on the Mount, they'd all gotten saved. But he got some followers out of that and some he didn't. The apostles, they preach. He got some followers and some didn't. They all heard the same doctrine, but they didn't all come to truth. So it's not the hearing the doctrine that make you saved, it's doing it. Right. Be not hearers of the word only, the Bible says, but doers of the word. Amen. Thank God. I don't overlook us because we claim to be Church of God. We're supposed to be doing it. All right, let's go down. He says, the stars of heaven fell to the earth, as a tree cast her untimely figs when she's shaken of a mighty wind. The mighty wind that shook them should not have shook them off. But if we won't stand for truth, I'm going to tell you, when the Holy Ghost sends the word, it will shake us off. Yeah. We won't be able to stand. That's what I asked before we conclude this chapter. He said, you shall be able to stand. When the mighty wind, you know the mighty wind blew at Pentecost, you remember that? Amen. The mighty wind, they were shaken of a mighty wind, cloven tongues of fire. And now here come by the efforts of the brethren when they became unified, they began to preach a mighty doctrine that shook the Protestant brethren. But sometimes it only entrenched some of them, and they got more adamant against the truth because they want to stand up for their doctrine. And that's what you have when you try to witness to people. They want to stand up for their church. They want to hold out for their church or our church. And that hinders them from actually rightly weighing out the word that you're telling them. the witness that you're giving them, the testimony that you are presenting to them, because they have a loyalty to this fact, because that's where grandma goes, and that's where auntie goes, and that's where mama goes. They just hang out over there and stay over there. And that's the case. And those are the free men. See, there are people you say you want to, there are people that are saved in Protestantism. But when the mighty wind comes, you better watch out. It'll blow them off. It'll shake them off. You know, you're going to be standing for truth, but you're not standing with enough to hold you. See, justification, we need more than that now in these last days, by faith. We need more than that. Yes. Yeah. Thank God we need more than sanctification. We need obedience. And then if through that Spirit you still withstand God because of your head, you can lose out what you have. Many that we have known before have lost out because they failed to continue to walk in the truth. The Holy Ghost will lead and guide you, but you don't have to follow. You're still more free, more aimless, even when you're saved and sanctified. You can do what you want. We'll hope you want to do what's right. Amen. Because God has perfected for every them that are sanctified, provided they stay that way. There ain't nobody that can stay saved without a proper effort. You be saved, you be sanctified, whatever, you can cry. Demas, a preacher friend, I know some ministers to turn back on God after preaching the mighty gospel and turn back on the gospel they preached. And became castaway. It's voluntary all the way, saints. All the way to glory is voluntary. There's nothing forcing you to do anything. Nothing. You can turn back whenever you feel like it. That's what's going to make the glory of heaven. The fact we're there because we're volunteers all the way. Amen. There won't be anybody in heaven in handcuffs. So anyhow, the stars of heaven fell unto the earth, and they received an earthly condition, and they held on to earthly doctrine. And the doctrine of many churches, or go to the church of your choice, is just earthly as it can be. That's earthly. Amen. That's earthly. Go to the church of your choice. Well, God gave you a choice. He said, enter ye in at the straight gate. He didn't say any gate. Don't make you eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Amen. You're going to go to heaven, eeny, meeny, miny, mo. No, he said you go in at the straight gate. Amen. He said, I am the door. There's only one Christ, so there's only one door, and there's only one church. I am the door to the church. He added to the church daily such as should be saved. Now, just because we are saying the church of God is the only one saved, that's not mean that everybody in here is church of God. See, it's who's doing rather than who's claiming. We have limited access and membership to the church of God. That's right. It's open to whosoever will, but they must walk straight. They have to enter the proper door. And the proper doors will be inspected by the Word of God, Christ Jesus himself. The Word of God. Good master, what must I do to be saved? When you stand at his door, and he'll tell you. So they were shaking. It was time to shake, because God said he's going to shake it. He did say, let us know he's going to shake it. He said he's going to shake the heaven and the earth. And going to bring a third part through the fire. So we're going to be shaken from time to time, but just depend upon your integrity and your dependency upon God as to whether you're going to stay saved or not. Many people are dependent on their own wisdom. And they're allowing things into their lives that got no business by their own wisdom. And they're allowing practices in their life that they should not. That's what the exhortation is for. And when you drive those practices far, far away, then God get back down to business with God and do according to what he has instructed. See, we can't set the standard for ourselves. The standard is already set in the Word. Right? Amen. Right. Well, I mean, we can fall into some dangerous things. Says it in the own standard. People have done it and caused confusion in the church. Holding out for what I want to do. Okay, so when the Holy Ghost came through, they couldn't stand. When he got blowing terrible winds against a wilderness and blew them off the tree, they didn't have enough strength to stand. They wouldn't hold on tight now. And so they fell. It was untimely for the ministers to fall. Just about the time God was ready to begin a great reformation, and the ministers were hitting the ground. Only those who were sold out was able to stay up. On to the tree. All of you in the uttermost bow. Hanging on for God. The rest hit the ground with a big bump, and they were damaged when they hit the ground too. Damaged fruit. People who really care don't sell fruit they pick up off the ground as first-class fruit. Because it's not first class, even though it might look right. It's got dimples in that, and it's where it's going to mold, or where it's going to rot at, and go bad where it hit the ground, earthly. Earthly. We got to keep our doctrine and our ideas and our opinions heavenly. Not doctrinally. Doctrinally, but not earthly. Now this becomes when God revealed the light on the unity of his people. It took him to restore it step by step. 3 parts of light. You remember he said when the fifth seal was open? What was it? Well, on the fourth seal, I believe it was, and it was on the altar. Under the altar, the souls. Fifth seal, when I was under the altar, the souls of them that were slain for the word of God and the testimony which they held. They cried for loud voice. I was speaking of the souls on the altar in the fifth. I was speaking of the third part of the sun, shone not for the third part of the day. That was the sun that didn't shine yet. We had justification. But we needed 3 parts. We need justification, sanctification, and we also needed unity. And then the brother began to preach that. It brought a great earthquake. They preached through the Holy Ghost and shook the earthly individuals, saying God who couldn't understand doctrine and would not accept it, shook them off. Those that were justified, but the third part always, it seems like there's a third part. 3 parts of light, justification, sanctification, and unity is the third condition of the church, and the 3 parts of light are 3 actions of men. Those that accept truth, those that reject truth, and those that compromise truth. And God always burn off 2 parts, or burn off the third part, depending on what the circumstance might be. But the third part here happened to be those that did not accept the truth. They were all right up till then, and they were free. But when they did not accept truth, then they were cut out. Those that were left in Babylon after God sent the word of the unity of his people, those that were left down there perished. Because they wouldn't walk in the light, and God knew the light. He said, walk while you have light. When light came, they resisted, and they got shaken of the mighty wind. Shook up and shook off. In the heavens departed as a scroll, the light that they had. And in the heaven, there's the sun, and the moon, and the stars. The sources of light, God removed them, and things got dark. And every mountain and island was moved out of places. The kings of the earth and the great men and rich men, and the chief captains and mighty men, all are mighty and chief captains, and those that are big wheel, love the position like they had it. You know why the temple lords and priests, chief priests and others did not accept Christ? Those that did not accept Christ? Because they said they'll come and take away our nation, our position. They didn't want to lose their position. Christ was greater than any of them, and they were afraid of him. But they didn't submit because they wanted to be temple lords. They wanted to be high priests. And then they wanted to be they wanted to be the chosen people of God. You can't be the chosen people of God if God don't choose you. And he had chose not to do that, and it would have been better to go in, but a great number of the priests in several cases did believe. And even the free men that did not accept the truth, of course they ran from the truth and they come in bondage to their own deception. And every bondman and all free men, whoever was operating in Babylon and did not accept this truth, lost out. When they hid themselves in the dens, and of course we know those were hangouts for the unregenerated animals, the beasts, and in the rocks of the mountains, and that's where the lions and the pumas and all those kind of animals hang out up in the mountains and in the rocks of the mountains. We know that we have a rock, but it's not rocks. And he said unto the mountains and the rocks, or the false churches, is actually what he's talking about, fall on us and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne. Now we got down to where we want to come down to the face of him that is on the throne, hide us. The Word of God was being preached plainly. That's how they got shook. It was being preached plainly because the Holy Ghost was in it as a mighty wind of doctrine that the brethren that had come out taking their stand plainly were preaching. And it was disturbing the Protestant churches because it was calling, they had a come out message. And of course you feel picked on when folks are calling your best folks out. And this is what they're saying, you're getting our best people. Well, saints of God, when we start preaching the come out message around here, we want the best people. As I said, it don't mean everybody in Babylon backslid, but some down there don't know no better. And if they hear the truth and have our heart is right, they'll take their stand. And we have some here that have taken their stand out of Babylon. We have quite a few that have come here out of sin, but some came out of Babylon. And if they hadn't come out, they'd have lost their soul because the light went out. When God called you and you understand and you decide to stay there and help him out, that's against the word of God. He didn't say stay there and help him out. He said, come out of her, my people. Well, there's some good people down there. So what? There's some good oranges in the trash can. They got to come out and get washed up. We ought to be moral. They're pretending to be saved. We ought to be moral, but moral does not hold you in the secret place. I mean, we should be just as holy in the secret as we are, thank God, before one another. Amen. We should be unbreakable to sin. That's right. The devil, they can't get us to lie because the lying is out. It's out. It's not that we just don't lie, it's that we don't want to lie. Amen. Thievery is out. I wouldn't steal a thing. I wouldn't take a thing that don't belong to me. Amen. I don't want your extra change. Say, here it is. You give me, well, let's make it enough worth getting back. You give me $5 back too much. You give me $2, $10 back too much. We don't want a dime. But sometimes, you give a dime back. I don't know. Would you give it back a 20? Are you saved that much? Are you that saved? If you can be bought, then you don't have it like you ought. True. The saints are just what they say. They're saints. They're like morally like unto the angels. Do no wrong. That's not too hard. I mean, we can not deliberately do any wrong. You might make an error, make a mistake. When you find out about it, you go fix it. Right, saints? Amen. Amen. Why? Our salvation costs us too much, and we've been involved with it too long to give it up over something. A $10 bill won't be worth a dime when it comes time, amen, to walk through the pearly gate and that $10 come across there like an iron bar. It may be exciting when you first get it, but after you've been wrong, forgot to spin it and forgot whether the best way you got it, of course, then it's burning like a ague at that time. All right. He said, they were set unto the rocks and the mountains after they had been exposed to the truth and the bright light of the gospel and the vials poured out on them. They cried out to the rocks and the mountains or to their home church, hide us. I'm going to my own church. I ain't sitting under that. I'm going to my own church. You're going back to the church to get away from the gospel. You're going back to your own church to get away from, amen, the burning word of God. You go back to your own church because you don't want to settle in the Gospels. But they said, hide us from the face of him that sat on the throne. When the gospel was preached, it was Jesus that was preached. And Jesus was one of the chief violators of the whole Bible. Yeah. And he let them have it back when it wasn't even in style yet. He let them have it when he got back even before, amen, the temple went down. You vipers, you snakes, you hypocrites! Standing in the marketplace wanting to people will say, Rabbi, Rabbi, good morning, Father. Looking for prestige, looking for glory for yourself, looking for glory in the flesh. You standing in the way, you won't enter in, you won't get saved, you're standing in the way of those that would get saved. Jesus just told them preachers down there, you ain't no good. Jesus said, no good, he let the fire roll, he let it roll down on them. Oh, no doubt it did have a part in his execution. Because it made them mad and madder because they were like the three men that wouldn't repent. They just wouldn't repent. He said they repented not to give God the glory. After Jesus laid the judgment to them, they all got mad. And they got sought for a way to destroy him. Not that he was wrong, but that they were wrong and didn't want to get right. Now you find folks that's wrong and they want to get right, so they insist that you're wrong. The very Son of God, the King of glory, amen, they resisted him. And they ran to the mountains. Or they might come to a revival meeting with you. Maybe they'll come to church on Sunday morning with you. Or maybe they'll hear something and they read it right in that Bible. Amen. The Bible says so, but they say, our preacher don't teach it, and I ain't going to do it. So they go back home to their own church and hide behind the doors over there. And they hear sweet stuff on Sunday morning. The preacher stand by the door and says, Shelby, you sure look good. You look nice this morning. You got a new dress, Shake their hands and hold on too long. Fresh. They don't hear truth. No, sir. That's where people want to go and hang out. Down in the dens. That's what the Bible said. It's a den of iniquity. And what they went back down there and didn't want to hang around Church of God for was because they didn't want to be hid from the face of Him. They saw the face of God. When the Word of God was preached, they saw it, they understood it, but they ran from it because their deeds was evil. And Jesus said, you won't come to the light because your deeds are evil. Yeah. This is the condemnation that men love darkness more than light. And so they ran back to their own churches, they ran back from the Word of God, and they said, fall on earth, hide us from the face of Him that sits on the throne, the King of glory. You know the Bible said all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. The King of glory is not a sinner. He did no sin, neither God found in his mouth. And he said, in him there is no darkness at all. God is light, and in him is no darkness at all. Amen. The eunuch that was sitting in the chariot, and then Philip climbed up into him and preached unto him Jesus. And he heard, praise God, and he didn't run. Saints of God, we don't want to run from truth. If you do, you get in trouble. Bible says, who shall be able to stand? We're going to look at Psalms 34. Line upon line, precept upon precept, we're going to get the Word of God, amen, to back up whatever we say concerning the revelation, because it is doctrine. It's Bible doctrine. That's why he said he showed unto the servants. The servants ought to be able to understand it, because if they're familiar with the Scriptures at all, they should come up with the verification of the interpretation of the revelation. All right, here in 34, we're going to begin reading at 11. It says, come ye children, hearken unto me, and I will teach you the fear of God, of the Lord. We need to learn to fear God and quit making excuses and trying to get around God's Word. Amen. He said he's going to add to you the plagues that's in this book if you add to his Word. If you take away from his Word, he said he'll add to you. Amen. Those are plagues that are in the Bible. He said I'm going to add it to you. The ones that are in that book, if you take away. He said he's the one that sat upon the throne, thank God his eyes are fire and feet of brass. That fear God and keep his commandments, the whole duty of men. He said, come ye children, hearken unto me, and I'll teach you the fear of the Lord. What man is he that desireth life and loveth many days, that he may see good? Let him keep his tongue from evil, and his lips that they speak no guile. Let them depart from evil and do good. Seek peace and pursue it. For the eyes of the Lord are upon the righteous, and his ears are open unto their cry. Yes. The face of the Lord is against them that do evil. The face of the Lord is against them that do evil, to cut off the remembrance of him from the earth. They said, hide us from the face of the Lord. And then there's something about the face of the Lord when your heart not right that you don't want to see. And we are not going to want to die in sin and stand before Christ. I'm going to tell you it's going to be a dreadful thing. To come before Christ who died that we put away sin, and we come back with sin in our life. Having sold out the blood for nothing. Amen. For pleasures of sin, just for a season. The face of the Lord is against them that do evil, to cut off the remembrance of them. See, God does some cutting off. Some folks think they don't. They sit around and just be idle. sit around and they talk idle and think idle and be idle. Sometimes they get careless and begin to say things they ought not say, but God cuts off. We cannot stand on the past testimony. And it's not for us to appropriate to ourselves grace from God. He's the one that issues the grace. We can't assign ourselves so and so much grace from God so we can do these things and God understands. No, sir, we can't do that. That's presumptuous. And David said, pray, Lord, keep me back from presumptuous sins. Because that's a great transgression. To feel like God will be light on sin and wrongdoing, that's a reproach to feel like God, amen, is going to justify wickedness in us or anybody else. So we don't want to be presumptuous. These people were, and they went to their own church to escape the judgments that were being preached and then by the Church of God brethren. And long like the face of the Lord as against them that do evil, to cut them off. Psalm 34:15. Not evil for evil. If we go to 1 Peter 3, we find some very similar words, amen, that Peter was only quoting when he had read that the face of the Lord is against them that do evil. And these brethren that were running from God, these brethren were hiding out in the caves and the dens, and that's all religious people are. That's all their churches are concerned. That's all they're considered. By God, the Bible says, pens and dens of iniquity. Yes. Down where you sin more or less every day. And how can you say anything about my sin when you sin too? And how can the preacher preach against you when he's wrong? Don't tell me he's been creeping around in the dark doing. I don't know, maybe he's got a bar in his basement. Maybe he got a girlfriend on the side. Don't you say they don't do that? Yes, they do it. They call him their angel. My angel. My spiritual wife. So God ain't got no business with no spiritual wife and no angel. But angel, they build with the angel that camp about them that fear God. They better not be that angel they call that woman. She shaped so nicely, she walks so cute, and I just put her under my arm. You better let her stay under God's arm. You take care of her. You put her on yours. And when the ministers ain't got no business with no girlfriends on the side, but they run to the bins and dens to hide out from that. They say something wrong with you if you criticize them for it. But they still want to be called reverend and brother and pastor and all that foolishness. I will tell you, the 6-year brother laid judgment to the line and righteous to the plummet, and they burnt that up and made them mad and they left. And went out and hid out in the pens and the bills. They didn't repent to come get saved. No, they were like that. They're like that. Better repent and be saved. In Peter, the 3rd chapter, beginning in the 8th verse. Finally, be of one mind, having compassion one on another. You love his brethren. Saints, love his brethren. You're not allowed to be picking on nobody. You're not allowed to be setting folks down and looking down your nose at certain people. Amen. The Bible said you love as brethren. Now, of course, he's talking about the man and his wife. The brethren come in and they hug one another and they shake hands and go along, but the wife don't want to speak. If you read that chapter, it says, likewise your wives be in subjection to your own husband. He comes down through there and tells them how to get along in the house. 5th verse, for after this manner the old time holy women also trusted in God, who adorned themselves, being in subjection to their own husbands. Even as Sarah obeyed Abraham, calling him Lord, whose daughters ye are, if you have the same spirit, as long as you do well, and be not afraid to submit with in amazement. Likewise, your husbands dwell with them according to knowledge. Amen. Don't take extra liberties and do things you got no business. Amen. You might be head, but you ain't head of God, and he already told you what you're supposed to be doing in your home. You're not supposed to be at war with your wife. Amen. Wives who have husbands who profess their salvation are not worried about being oppressed. Just submit yourself and don't be afraid. That's what he's telling you. If I submit, you run all over me. If I submit, you walk down my back. If I submit, how in the world are you going to be saved and not submit? when the Bible says for the same women to submit. Now, if your husband is not saved, still submit. But there's some things you can't do because God is greater than your husband. But at the same time, submit where you can. But you're not going to win your husband or wife, either for that matter, haranguing them, banging them, beating them, whatever else you might be doing, smart talking them. Nobody tells us what you do. I thought I'd just strip back there in case it's talking about the hidden man of the heart. After this manner, the holy women, even as Sarah obeyed Abraham, called him Lord, whose daughters are, likewise your husband, dwell with them according to knowledge, according to Bible knowledge, giving honor unto the wife as unto the weaker vessel. Wives, be weaker. Be weaker, wives. Don't be so tough. Don't be so sufficient. Amen. Don't be so strong-willed. Amen. Get off his back. Amen. You're inviting the little conflict when you act that way. There's no place where you pick up arms against your husband. There's no place where you get up in his face and get him straight before it's too late. Said, a woman of meek and a quiet spirit. How many are you supposed to have a meek and a quiet spirit? Or you still put your hand on your hips from time to time like you did before you got saved? Do you still buck your eyes at your husband and shake your hip at him and tell him where he come from and where he can go? Whose adorning let it not be the plaiting of the hair. Maybe you don't agree with your husband, but you'll go fight with him. How do you expect to gain his respect? How do you expect to be treated, amen, as a meek and quiet, with a meek and quiet spirit, amen, adorned as a weaker vessel? As being heirs together of the grace of life, that your prayers be not hindered. You don't do what God told you to do, what makes you think you get the prayers through? You don't go and be saved by yourself? You submit to what you can submit to. Find to be all in one mind, having compassion one of another. Love his brother and be pitiful. Sister, be pitiful. Some of the things we have to counsel on is because the wife is not being pitiful. If they take it to prayer, God will work it out, but they ain't going to take it to prayer. They're going to take it to confrontation, toe to toe and lip to lip. And you're going to do what I tell you to do, I'm leaving. That's not what he's teaching. That's not what he's teaching here. He's teaching, don't be afraid to do it the way the Bible tells you to do it, and see what happens. Amen. Finally, all be of one mind. Have compassion one on another. Have compassion on that wife. She wants you to do something for her, and you don't think it ought to be done. But have compassion where you can. If you can't do it for her, then make it up. Best way you know how. Do your effort best to retain her love, or gain it if you don't have it. Not rendering evil for evil. When you get it, yeah, but so when you get it, anyhow, just the same. You did it, getting on me, buddy. You did it. Oh, have mercy. Are you quiet here? Are you one of the ministers? You one of the deacons? Bishops? Why are you acting like that? What if the saints were standing on the porch and they was all listening to you all great outbreak of charity while you're rendering evil for evil? Not rendering evil for evil, ready for ready, the contrary, why blessing, knowing that you are thereunto called that you should inherit a blessing. Bless one another, because God. For he will love life and see good days, but will refrain his tongue from evil. Sometimes in the heat in the passion of displeasure, we might say something kind of business. You can't get it back if you let it go out. And it could cause hurt for weeks and months. All right, are y'all going to sleep? This is not interesting, is it? Oh, I'm sorry I got on some of this uninteresting stuff. Well, wake up. Amen. It's probably written, so I'm just reading it. You know I'm reading it. If you have your Bible open, you know I'm reading it. All right. Thank God. We want to measure on this part too. And let the Lord shine in our lives. Oh my, look what time it is. I thought I'd have plenty of time. Let him eschew evil and do good. Let him seek peace and pursue it. Now we read where he was quoting from. It says, pursue it. So when we read it, ensue means pursue. That's the quote. Did we read in the Old Testament? Yeah. We did read it, didn't we? Yes, sir, because the face of the Lord was against them. Now Peter's quoting that. Paraphrasing somewhat, but still. For the eyes of the Lord are open over the righteous, and the ears are open unto their prayers. Yeah. Why don't you go pray about it? That's what he's telling you. Why in the world do you want to do the evil for evil, fussing about it, trying, as it were, to give the man or the woman occasion to be mad at you? We don't want to create a situation where our companion can justify herself or himself being mad at us. Roaring and ramping through the house because of something we've done, and we're supposed to be living with our companions according to knowledge. If we know this is going to cause problems, we ought not be doing it. He said, for he that love life and see good days, let him refrain his tongue. We read that over in the old law. Tongue from evil, and his lips that they speak no guile. Psalm 34. For the eyes of the Lord are over the righteous, and his ears are open into their prayers, which means that you don't have to fuss and get carnal because you're fighting your own battle. And the holy women of the Reformation didn't do things like that. Now, where do you feel like running back down run back where you came from? Those who came out of Babylon, unless we won't go back where you can do as you please. They don't say anything about it. They tend their own business. They don't tell you not to say that. But the holy women and the older women speak to the younger women. And teach the young women. What did the Bible say teach them? Huh? To love their husbands. And what else? Love their children. Wow, the old women have been through some things. Some of you all that are suffering now, you will be of value to the church when you get older. Because we got to stay saved no matter what the more devilish husbands do. We got to stay saved anyhow. Yeah, they don't expect them to be so sweet. They're not saved. If they were saved, if they treat you just right when they was in sin, well, I'll tell you, well, then what's the point in getting saved? Maybe they're already saved. But they're going to be under the master from time to time, and some are worse than others. But the Bible says, how are you going to win? When it says, it starts out life wise, you wives be in subjection, whatever ask you to do is reasonable, to your own husbands. But if any obey not the word. Now, plenty of it, we got some husbands around here who don't obey the word. So don't say, well, if you knew my husband, you would say, well, he thought this was addressed to those whose husbands are not saved. They're teaching you to be saved just the same. Figure a way to get past the devil. All right? For the eyes of the Lord are over the righteous, and his ears are open unto their prayers. But the face of the Lord is against them that do evil. Not contrary to evil God against you, saying, saved saints take advantage of their husband because he ain't saved. God is against you when he said his ears are open to your prayers, and instead of praying, you're back talking. I serve not a woman to teach, nor usurp the authority over the man. He's your husband. You shouldn't be trying to teach him. You're trying to train him on how to live in your house. That's right. You do. Listen, that's right. Teach him how to live in your house. In his house. Say don't do it a certain way, then don't do it. Don't sneak around and get another way to do it. And I know sometime around here, say don't do something, find folk doing it anyhow. And then when long you do it, it causes them trouble. But it makes you happy to do it, and so you do it. Don't charge. Don't charge. Except in emergencies. I think any man is reasonably wrong will let you use the card in an emergency, because that's about the only reason you have it. It's a real danger to have a charge plate for some people. They just can't keep it in the wallet. Matter of fact, it ought to be in the chest of drawers or somewhere. It shouldn't be in the wallet. And now when you get an emergency, get it out and go use it. And let him know you're using it. And come to him apologetically. The Bible says, listen, be pitiful. When you take that charge plate out, you know it's going to cause trouble. Be pitiful. Even if your child did have hole in his shoes and the snow was deep, you still don't just, I got a light. 2 pair of shoes. Flap. Be pitiful, be courteous. You want to keep peace in your home. You know how to follow after peace and pursue it. You're looking for peace. Hard-headed women that don't want to do what they're told. So you said it too much that way. Well, I'd like to have a lady preach it. Would you take it then? There's a little judgment roll down. Exhortation. That's right. You say, well, I'm just a slave here. Well, you chose to be. There's more sitting around wanting to be slaves too. We let sweetness cover that up. It's sweet, saints. All the people wouldn't be going after it. It's sweet. Some of men would tell you, if I wasn't married, I'd get married. That's right. Sure, everybody's got somebody to obey. That's right. Everybody's going to have to submit to somebody. God will let it know. Even Christ himself submitted. He submitted. He Lord of all. He submitted to his Father, and he submitted to the folks on earth. He submitted to his agitators. Yes, he did. And the Bible says here, not rendering evil for evil, not reward for reward, the contrary wise blessing. Don't give him the bed to start trouble. You got him trapped now, and he can't get away. Now you're going to ask him some very deep, penetrating, aggravating questions about what happened to that money that you had. No, that's not the place to discuss them problems. Be sweet, be a saint. You know what I mean when people say, well, she's a real saint. She's sweet. But the face of the Lord is against them that do evil. Now we'll stand that when they say the face of the Lord is against those Babylonians that are teaching evil in their congregations, and those that are practicing evil and call themselves saved. The face of the Lord is against them, and flee back them into the churches where they can do what they want to do. They don't have to give account to nobody. Preacher don't ask them because he can't ask them because he's doing worse than they're doing, and they know it. He better not say that to me. I'll tell him about where I saw him last Friday. You better not say nothing to me about what I'm doing, because if you do, I'll tell him about what he said to me. How about those little pretty eyes that he has? But now he says also the face of the Lord is against them that do evil. Psalm 34:16. And who is he who will harm you if you be followers of that which is good? If you're good, your husband will testify to you, for you. Amen. He'll give you a hard time in the house maybe, but when he's out, he'll testify that you are a good husband, a good wife. And if he'll testify for you that you're a good wife, then you probably are. You probably are. Two guys were sitting drinking, and he's talking about religion. And one said, there ain't nobody, I don't believe anybody's perfect. I don't believe anybody don't sin. The other would say, yeah, there's people that live a good life. He said, I don't believe I ain't seen nobody. He said, well, I'll tell you. And they staggered up, got up, and went down the street through an alley and went into the back door, banged on the door. Bang, bang! The little lady come to the door and opened the door. Stood back and let him in. And him and his half-drunk buddy walked in, and he said, fix me something to eat. I'm hungry. Hey, I'm going to be hungry. Everybody, we're hungry. And the man looked at him and slouched down to the table and sat down. The lady went to the refrigerator and got some eggs out and some bacon out. Got some bread out. Before she knew it, she was frying and cooking and going on. Put it on the table, give him a napkin. They sat down. And the man said, I told you, there's some people, They take that kind of abuse and not say anything, they must be saved. They will say amen. Could you testify that way? Can you take the abuse and still be sweet? The face of the Lord is against those that respond evil. Railing for railing. Ready to argue all night with your companion. How much love do you think you're developing in his heart for you when you want to fight and willing to make him do what you want him to do? Listen, our resting shall be over there. The glory in the glory land. Know the very best you can, but realize that there might be problems. Two personalities trying to blend. And if you're not saved, not trying to blend, then that makes your job a little extra. But God says his eyes are over you. And his ears are open to your prayer. And don't say, I already prayed, like somebody told me the other day. I already prayed. Well, you're saying what? I mean, you mean tell me the prayers go out of style? You mean there's too much prayer? You mean you quit praying? You don't have to pray anymore and the problem and the solution hasn't come to your problem? No. A lot of times God is not dealing with these old men folk and these old women that are not saved. It's because they're not spending enough time praying. We're trying to handle it ourselves. Trying to handle it ourselves, putting our nose in God's business. You ask him to do it and then stick our nose in it. Well, you got to do it. If you don't do it today, I'll tell him. I'll have him downtown. When the Word of God is preached, we don't go saying hide us from the face. I see it. I see it. I see it. I see it. Yeah, that's true, but I don't want to see it. So I'm going to do something else. We went and cried, hide us. So we don't want the Word of God. We want to do what we want to do. And they said to the mountains. And we know what a mountain is. We know what Mount Zion is, don't we? It's our church. And they went to their mountains because they got more than one church. So there's more than one mountain. Hide us from the face of him that sat on the throne. They try to take away our liberty. No, they want you to preach. You take away our liberty. You don't need liberty. It's going to get you in trouble. The Word of God does take away liberty to behave ourselves in a carnal manner. It takes that away. Hide us, dear Lord. Hide us, dear mountain. Hide us, dear reverend. Hide us, dear doctrine. Hide us. Down here in these rocks, sham rocks, foolish rocks. Hold us, cover us. So when God look down, he can't see us. And we look up, we don't have to see that terrible face, because the face of the Lord is against them that do evil. Of course, my chief input is, and point is, folks hiding out in false churches, but we have to be careful that we don't get in the same boat, hiding from the Word of God. I'm going to do what I want to do. I want to do what I want to do. I'm not going to take counsel. I don't want counsel me. You know, there's some folks are going to do what they please, whatever. Sister Butler told me that before she leaves. She said, tell me about folks, she said, you say what you want, they're going to do as they please. She told me that. She's been saved long enough and trying to pastor long enough that she realized that you can preach what you want. Some people ain't going to do it. They're going to do as they please. They got the mind made up and still going to heaven. Still going to heaven. Yeah, the mind made up. They made the covenant with death. And with hell they are in agreement. You know, I know I'm saved. Ain't nobody bother me. You know, don't be telling me I ain't saved. I got a covenant with death, and when I die, I'll go to heaven. Are we that way, saints? I'm going to get me another book cover. Yeah, all right. Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord, saints of God. Thank God for Jesus. He's still on his throne. Praise the Lord for full salvation. God still reigns upon his throne, but hide me from his face so I can do what I want. And don't preach the doctrine so plain, because then I see Jesus, humble, meek, lowly. He's lower than I am. He's humbler than I am. He made himself a new reputation, and I'm the big shot down here. I got a trouble with that. Let me go where I can be free. We had some folks leave here, hiding from the face of him that sat on the throne. Sure, it doesn't happen more than once. People want to do and want to be excused to do what they please. We don't want to do that. We want to let it happen. That's right. Every day I want to feel good about my salvation. Don't you? And I don't want to be afraid to raise my hand. Praise God when they sing the songs of victory. I want to be able to raise my hand. Amen. I don't want to be reflecting with inside the things I've been doing, I ought not have been doing. See, my ignorance is not what's going to send me to hell, but my stubbornness. We have grace to take care of things we don't understand. We don't have anything at all to take care of except repentance to take care of for disobedience. So let's not just say temper, cool it down a little bit, cool it down a little bit. And then a pulpit committee to say, cool it down a little bit, don't teach that way. People say, I'll vote with my feet. If you preach it too tough, I'm leaving. I'll go back to my old place. At least they didn't murder us over there. And at least you ain't going to help me either, because the Bible says to exhort, rebuke, and reprove. With all long suffering, mainly just use the doctrine. And if we do anything other than the doctrine, then we've got a problem. But if you stick with the doctrine, don't hide from Jesus. Oh, I forgot to read one. Let me see. Maybe I can, only one more. The Lord bless thee and keep thee. Do you all know that? The Lord make his face to shine upon thee. The Lord be gracious unto thee and give thee peace. Amen. That's what we want. The Lord make his face to shine upon us. When your heart's right, then let God's face shine upon us. We want to see the God. Through the darkness, through the troubles, and through the pain and what all these, Jesus' face I see. We sing that? Jesus' face I see. Yeah. Fire darts. That's when I want to see Jesus' face. The Lord bless us and keep us. The Lord make his face to shine upon us. The Lord be gracious unto us and give us peace. The numbers I think somewhere in there. But anyhow, that's where we want the Lord's face to shine upon us, because we have done his will and give us peace. Let's stand. And let us rejoice when we see Jesus. Oh, when Philip preached to the eunuch, he preached unto him Jesus. Not only in his tender kindness, but in his judgment and his divine provision. We want Jesus. Songwriter wrote, let me see Jesus only. Those are righteous people. Let me see Jesus only. When you see Jesus only, you'll have to see some things that don't agree with the way you've been doing things. All right. Do we have a number? Well, let us see his face shine through the clouds of trouble and confusion. Amen. Don't sing hide us from the face. We want to have a good time. All we hear is judgment and fussing. We want to have a good time. If you go to certain places, when they get out the drums and the cymbals and the horns and all that stuff, you can have a great time down there. I'm going to tell you, the Holy Ghost come down, they say. All that noise. But when they leave there, they've had a great time in their short skirts. Rings through for them, maybe. Hair all bobbed up. And then hatred. I once was in confusion in Egypt's dark night, where envy and malice and hatred was rife. I don't go back to that. You know how they can do all that stuff? They don't see the face of Jesus. They can do it. All right. Let me know when you got your number. I didn't call anything. Yeah, well, what was the name for that reason?